Hello and welcome. My name is Joy Kauf, and I am the founder of Miracles of Joy Spiritual Center, which is located in Lewisville, Texas, which is north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So let me tell you a little bit about my personal journey and how I got started in what it is that I do. It started, I'm going to say, when I was in my early 20s. And what happened to me was I had what some people would consider a near-death experience. I had an experience where there was more than this world that existed in one particular time. And in that moment, in that, I want to say, miracle of my life, it really opened me up. It had me realize that there was not a whole bunch I needed to be afraid of. It also told me that I wasn't alone and that I had what I called spiritual beings, spiritual protectors that were walking with me down this path. So what did that do for me? It shifted my whole perspective of what this world is. It shifted who I was. It shifted my religious beliefs of what I was raised at that particular time. And what I wanted to know, the big question that opened up my eyes and what I wanted to know is, what was my purpose here? Why did I choose to come to this planet? There has to be a little bit more to life than what we know. And in following that path and in stepping into that particular path, I was drawn to channeling. And that's what my passion is. I always believe, and it's been a miracle in my life, is when you ask for the teacher to show up, the teacher will show up. And in the 1980s, if you were following any kind of path when it came to channeling, there weren't really a whole bunch of people out there that were actually doing it at that time. I wanted to know what was my purpose? What was my purpose to be here? And when I first connected to channeling and I saw it for the very first time, it was this eye-opening experience for me. That is what I am looking for. I had one of those aha moments that showed up at that particular time. And I was very fortunate to have people show up in my path, even in I'm going to say the early 1980s. And the miracle of that happening has actually unfolded as my unfoldment of my entire life. So I want to talk a little bit about what is channeling to me? What is my understanding of it? It is something that I have followed for a very long time. So from my perspective, it was about 10 years ago when I stepped into doing channeling more professionally for myself. I've always channeled my whole entire life. My challenge was I didn't realize what channeling was. Even though I saw it, I saw a lot of people that go out, they allow someone to speak through them. Where when it came to me, I could feel this merge kind of happen. So I'm going to talk about what is channeling to me. And it is just really about connecting to that higher power. So I don't believe that there's not a person out there who has not channeled. And I'm going to talk about the perception that I put around this. And this is mostly so it is kind of like the reason we use the buzzword channeling is it gives our ego something to connect to have some sort of understanding of what it is. So everyone has channeled at some point in their life. It is when you decide to open up your heart chakra. You can have a family member, a best friend, someone who's in need. It could be someone on an airplane. It could be someone that you just kind of reach over and talk to, someone at work. And what ends up happening is they feel this connection to you and they start telling you, something that's very personal in their personal life, or some sort of a tragedy that they're going through, or some sort of a negative experience in their particular life that they're going through. And what ends up happening in that moment is your judgment moves over to the side. You make this heart-to-heart connection with that person. And all of a sudden, these words of wisdom come through you at that particular time that gives them clarity to what it is that they need to do next. And what ends up happening is you can walk away from that situation and go, wow, what was that? I always call it feels like at those particular times, what ends up happening, I always say you feel like you stand in the flow and everything is flowing the way it's supposed to in that moment. And when we have those frictions and those challenges that come up in our life, we are outside of that flow. We can feel that resistance that's happening at that time. So this is just an overview of what channeling is to me. And this is what I teach. And I teach it for various different ways, because to me, channeling is energy healing. If you are doing Reiki energy healing or you're doing galactic energy healing, it doesn't matter what energy healing you're doing. That is a form of channeling as well as verbal. I call myself an intuitive. What is it that I do? I allow myself to sit in that space and have sessions with people and just have that heart-to-heart connection that may be able to give them guidance. And my biggest passion is teaching people that they are all connected to those beings that walk with them. Now, I use the word beings, and it's because that helps us understand what that is, whether you want to call it angels, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it your higher self. It doesn't matter if you walk the shaman path, which I have for a period in my life. It's our ancestors, it's our spirit guides. We all have these labels that we place on it, so we have an understanding that it is actually us stepping into our power and allowing these higher frequencies to merge with us. Now, with that being said, my passion is helping people reach that for themselves. It is about everyone has the ability to make that connection and be able to get those answers for themselves. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I've had this experience where whenever I feel like there's something not working in my own personal life, I do take a step back and I would turn around and take that step back and I ask for guidance in that moment. And what I do is look at what signs show up for me or what thoughts actually pop into my head at that point. And usually there is always an answer or solution to what it is that I'm going through at that moment. So this is what I pretty much do. I teach classes, but it's also about helping people connect to this. Joy Kauf, and I'm a galactic teacher. 8 years ago, I was a vice president of Citigroup, and I ditched all that to open up my own metaphysical store with my daughter, Tiffany. This person is watching over you. Look, right here in the aura photo, see?
The holes, those little dark spots is where she's picking up, that's where you're picking up other people's stuff. Miracles of Joy is a haven for a whole bunch of people with all kinds of metaphysical issues.
I know that I'm not originally from this planet. I'm from Sirius B, and I'm very much looking forward to going home.
We're gonna clear out anything that does not resonate with you.
My son see dead people and see the devil.
You know the difference in the vibration when they come to you, right? You can feel the difference. Can I show you? I'm going to show you something. People think I'm crazy, and that's okay. I allow them to be where they're at. But once they get to know me, once they really realize what my connection is, they realize maybe, she's not as crazy as I thought she was. Feel that energy? You do realize he's psychic, right?
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna walk through that front door. We have a pool of experts. There is no place on earth that you can find all the services that we provide right here in this shop.
I don't know if you have a guide, or do you have a grandmother or grandfather who's on the other side?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Was he Native American?
Yeah, he's a chief. Yeah, he's the chief of the Cattle Tribe of Oklahoma.
This grandfather that you have this connection with, he's there to help and guide you. So you're never, never, never alone. He is always with you. So my recommendation to you is make a connection with him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
What we're doing is not the norm. In a short period of time that we've been open, we've already become the metaphysical mecca of the region.
I want to show people the power that they have inside themselves.
I'm on a mission to wake up humanity.
Wake up!
Slowly reopening your eyes and joining us back in the room. All right, so it's normal to feel a little spacey after that.
With saying that, I want to go ahead and take it to an absolute next step. And the next step, I'm going to say about 10 years ago, I started to do sacred journeys, is what I call them. And what are sacred journeys? Sacred journeys are actually going to a place that is very sacred and has so many power centers that exist within it, that it actually helps you open up to the next level. It helps you open up and make your own personal connection. So I have a business partner, and we have been taking sacred journeys to Teo for, I'm going to say it's probably been 8 years now. His name is Cé Änn. He is a channel in his own right. And we decided that we were going to bring these tours together in order to help people know themselves better, to help people make those particular connections. So let me talk a little bit about why you would want to take a sacred journey, why you want to do this. I don't care who the facilitator is. I don't care who the teacher is. You find someone that you harmonize with, that your heart speaks to. And when you find that person, then by all means, it's time to, I call it checking out of the illusion, which happens to be our life, and checking into reality, which is usually the sacred journey. And let me talk a little, I want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit more. What ends up happening is when we are in our everyday life, we have life happen. And it creates all these distractions. And we spend a lot of time in the past or in the future. We don't have a tendency of spending time in the present. And when you decide to, I want to grow spiritually, I want to take that next step, I want to turn around and feel and learn more. I'm going to say, go on a sacred journey, because you're unplugging from the computer, the telephone, the TV, all of those distractions that are around us, family, work, everything that kind of like pulls on us and makes us move into 10 different directions at the same time. Let me elaborate a little bit more about Teo, and I want to talk a little bit of some of my favorite places that are there. I am very, very connected with the place of the women. I don't know what it is about that particular place, but it is just one place from the very first time I ever journeyed there that it is one place that my heart really connected to. I feel that it's a place for us to release everything that, just doesn't suit our higher purpose, those aspects of ourselves that it's just time to let go of so we can feel new and be renewed. And one of my second favorite places, and it always has been my favorite place, is the portal. And it's just a place that has always called me. I have had amazing experiences, personal experiences there. And I like looking through the portal and see what is it that I see on the other side, because it is truly a portal that actually moves from one dimension to the next. When you walk on the grounds of Teo, you can actually feel the energy. And, I have the ability to actually see the energy that kind of rides on the ground there in Teo. And it's just, I absolutely feel like I am in so many different dimensions at the same time every time I walk those grounds. You are going to love all the pyramids that exist. One of my other favorite places is a place that I call heaven. And it is just a place that it feels like that it just clears anything that may still kind of be stuck in my heart chakra, some of the stuff that I'm still holding on to. So whenever you get a chance, you want to make sure that you do one of these journeys and do it for yourself, and do it as often as you possibly can. My favorite experience is when I get into the airport of Mexico City and I turn around and we take the van and we step off of that van into the Dreaming House. It almost feels like the doors open and close. It's like you walk from one illusion to a reality. It is a place, the Dreaming House is a place that has so much magic. I want to talk about that magic because it's really, really important. When you go in there, it feels like you are standing on sacred ground. And I really believe it's the family who actually runs the Dreaming House that holds that space for us. It is a sacred space. And when you step into that place, you actually feel that there's an aspect of the world disappears and you come in. And you have given yourself permission to spend the next, whether it's 4 days, 5 days, 7 days, you have given yourself permission to spend that time on you, on your spirituality, on your connection. And the Dreaming House does that for you as well. Or when you walk through those gates and you step down, it is one of the most beautiful complexes you have ever seen. It is covered in obsidian and fluorite. There's a labyrinth that's made out of obsidian and fluorite. There are teaching rooms that are there. Not to mention there's just beautiful obsidian pieces that Alberto carves himself. And one of my favorite things to do at the Dreaming House is actually do workshops that are kind of there. And what I mean by there is I like talking about the cactus and what are some of the functions of the cactus. And I like talking about, have Alberto talk about how did he get started with doing all of these obsidian pieces. So let me talk a little bit about the family. There's Emily and Victor, and then there's the Uncle Victor, who is a shaman and who we love to take walks with and learn about the culture that's there. And then there's Alberto and Veronica. And the family is just so accepting and so loving. And it's almost like, you know, it's like when I go back, it's almost like I'm connecting with my long lost family that I may not have seen for the past year. And there's artwork that's done by Emily that's all over the place. And the pieces by Alberto is just amazing. And I want to talk about like the family environment that you have. We have meals there, and in having those meals, it is like family style meals. And there's just like a lot of laughing and fun and connection, and we get to share what happened the day at the pyramids, and we talk about our lives and we get to know each other better. And it's just this great connection that we have. And then when we do a cave ceremony that we started at on one of our first tours, where Victor came along, and he is a shaman in his own right. Sayon and I have a huge connection to Victor, and we love the experiences that we have because it brings us back to that shamanistic healing and connection that we have. And we love experiencing that with our groups as well. So I can't even describe Alberto. Alberto is a shaman in his own right. He doesn't come off that way, but he is a shaman in his own right. And when we spend time with the family, we have such a strong connection to Emily and Victor. It's almost like when we see them, we just kind of light up. When you have a family that walks this path, they also hold that sacred space for you. And that sacred space is the Dreaming House, which also helps you shed some of those layers that you need to shed at that particular time, and opening you up to the higher purpose that you came here to do. And we like giving people some time to just walk the grounds and just really spend time with themselves and with the group in order to connect. We also do stretching, and we have our own meditation classes and workshops that we do. And the rooms are absolutely, teaching rooms are absolutely beautiful. We love that we have the ability to do a fire for one night and be able to have people connect to the fire energy that's there in the fire element. My favorite experiences when I go to the Dreaming House is it's just like, it feels like I'm so connected to that place. I have the same connection in Teo. And when I say connected, from the grounds to the food that you eat, to the people that you interact with, that family means everything to me. I can't even begin to tell you that every time I go through a journey, I'm facilitating it, but at the same time, I am a facilitator at the same time, it changes me as well. It allows me to unplug for a week. It allows me to follow the path that I'm on. It allows me to speak my truth and what it is and why I am here in order to make that connection. From the food that you eat, I'm going to tell you one of my favorite experiences is you're there and you're eating fresh food for a solid week. And every time I leave, I come back to the United States and it just feels like I'm eating plastic. It's like I can't even explain it. There's times that I've asked Alberto and I've asked him, I said, so what do you guys do that's so different with the food here? It just feels so different here than when you go back to the United States. And I feel it's like the love, it's like they put this energy in everything that they prepare there. And with that, I want to talk a little bit about the journeys that we do to Teo. We do what I call meditations, connections, feeling the vortexes. It is like, I cannot tell you what is going to happen. All I know is that I get into that space and I follow what I am guided to follow at that moment. When we take people there, it is more about them connecting to the energies and the vortexes that I believe exist in Teo. It's about them connecting to those frequencies that still exist there. It feels like you're in two worlds at the same time. And at certain areas, you get peeks into the other dimensions that kind of layer on top of Teo. I believe that the place is very magical. I believe that anything that you do there will change your life forever. I also want to talk about the groups that we have taken and some of the experiences that people have had in Teo as well. Any group that I take is unique and different. I always feel like spirit pulls them together in that moment. It's kind of like when we go and this group shows up, there are going to be connections that are just unbelievable. And I want to talk a little bit about those connections. You will build friendships for the rest of your life. These people will mean something to you for the rest of your life. It is like you're sharing, you're expressing. There's just connection. I have had so many people who go to the Dreaming House and go to Teo, and they have their own sacred experience. They see their own guides. They see their own reflection and the place that exists there. With that being said, I want to share a little bit about my personal experiences. Teo called me there. And what I mean by called me there is I was having dreams of jaguars, I don't know, for a year now, and I used to call them the jaguar people. And my first experience when I stepped at the Dreaming House was I literally had two spirit jaguars that ended up jumping on the bed next to me. And I'm like, wow, I am really here. I also had a guide by the name of Sun Eagle. So when I saw the eagle and a jaguar, it was a connection to my higher self. It was a connection to who I was. It was about my next step forward. With that being said, everyone has their own unique connections. I have had many people talk about having dreams about jaguars before they came to Teo. I have had many healers and intuitives in their own right who have their own practice talk about how the place has called them. It is just a place of magic. If you want magic to happen in your life and you want to shed those layers that just no longer serve you and you want to take that next step forward, then this is the place for you to do that. So I want you to take a moment and think about what it is that you want to create in your life. See what it is that you actually want to manifest in your everyday life. And then, by all means, take a journey to Teo and go through the Dreaming House. You will not find the nicest family that you have ever met in your life, who treat you like family, who you become part of this bigger spiritual family. There are many groups that pass through the Dreaming House, and yet on some level, we are all connected at our heart energy. And we know that we have brothers and sisters out there in the world that are following a similar path to what we are following, or their own path. in bringing people to that higher function, to that higher place that they need to be in their everyday life. If you're ready to be able to walk in the chaotic world that we have and be able to still maintain your peace and to be able to manifest what you want to manifest in your life, then by all means, make sure you book a journey and you go through the Dreaming House and you go through Teo. It is one of I do sacred journeys, and I've been to Egypt and I've been to Bosnia. We do them in Sedona. We've taken people all over the world. However, I have to always come back to Teo. It is just one of my favorite places, and I have to do this at the Dreaming House. Thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us. And I hope that you help us on our journey. If you want to know more information about me, you can find me on Facebook under Joy Kauf, and it's JoyKauf. And you can also find me at miraclesofjoy.org. That's miraclesofjoy.org. Thank you again for joining me today.